following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
Thank you, Tally Olson. We are back. Bronx Roots, Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. I'm Ralph Tyko, and the hosts are co-hosts. We have David Hubler and Michael Preminger.
Yes, hello.
Hello, David. Hello, Michael.
Hello.
Right.
Okay, how are you guys doing? Everything okay?
Yeah.
Good.
You're all over the internet with Facebook and Facebook was. There's only 2 or 3 people who when I put on Facebook that are there, and you're one of them, so I'm glad to see you.
Oh, okay. You're talking to Ralph. Ralph said,
yes,
too.
to Ralph.
Oh, good.
But Ralph's on there all the time.
Oh, I know.
I am on Facebook quite a bit. I have to admit that Facebook is basically what runs the show. For one reason or another, it has an incredible covering, and not just the show, but all the shows on Comfortably Zoned. So I go with it. There's a lot of contention about privacy issues, this, that, and the other thing. Anything you guys have anything come up on your accounts, privacy-wise, that have alerted you in any ways?
No.
Not me.
No.
I don't even know how to post anything on Facebook. Which brings me to a question.
Sure.
I was just reading an article, just before we got together here in the last minute or two, about OK Boomer. Do you know what I'm referring to?
Yes, I do.
What the hell is that all about?
It's a slur, first of all.
It's a slur against boomers.
Yes, the boomer generation, the boomer generation. The idea is that, if you talk, it's a slur saying, oh, yeah, old-timer. That's what it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't gotten that. Have you gotten that since I don't talk to anybody under a certain age anyway?
No, I haven't either.
I had read it, and then, as I say, and that Maureen Dowd wrote about it. What a bunch of crap.
It is.
If some young person says, okay, boomer, tell them to shove their okay right up their boomer. Come on, stop it already.
I know. When 25-year-olds are dictating the English language,
yes,
that's when I decide to go mum. I don't want
yes, exactly.
I'm gonna gosh, I know there's so many of those things.
Something TikTok. Have you seen that?
I don't know.
I just read it, and I'm going, what world am I living in?
All of these things just pop up. Like a thing that grates on me is so and so, the superstar so and so. I never heard of that person. Seriously, who in the world is this person? They're always on these TV. Some of them have become so non-persons that you can't help it, like those horrible people, the Kardashians. They're just awful. Now, whatever they do, it seems, there's a trail of these reporters or photographers, trailing behind, and they're such offensive people.
I agree.
It's just crazy stuff.
Is that the paparazzi you're talking about?
Paparazzi, anybody. Here on the East Coast, I don't know. I guess it's the same out there too, but it's just 3 hours difference. After the network news on CBS and NBC, here they both have one of these really silly, stupid Hollywood shows.
Oh yes. First edition Entertainment Tonight.
That's it. Now I have nothing against Hollywood, believe me, but the people that they talk about on these shows are just it's inane conversation. I mean, who cares that some 19-year-old girl is dating a 24-year-old non-entity? I mean, I don't care about these things. I don't know these people. I don't want to know these people.
It's pop culture, and that's where the ratings are in the media.
I know. Yeah.
That's what controls it. So.
Oh, sure. And the shows, the people that host these shows, all they do is giggle. They giggle and laugh. I mean, and you don't know what they're laughing at. I mean, it's just, oh, so and so, she wore, black boots. It's just the stupid, especially, if it came on Saturday morning with the cartoons, I could understand it. But it comes on after what's supposed to be a serious product, the news, and you get this nonsense,
Well said. Very well said. You're absolutely right. I either put on Jeopardy, which follows the news.
Yes,
here,
right. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Or I look for a movie or for a game. But,
yes. 8 o'clock. I try to. Now that the baseball season is over, I go into my stash of movies that I've recorded because there's no more baseball on, and so I try to catch one of the movies. In fact, I saw a good one. I talk about this because I want to lead into what I guess both of you didn't get to see in your email today.
I'm looking at it right now. Let's review The Bronx.
Yes, we can do Siskel and Ebert. But before we do that, I just wanted to mention a really interesting film that I saw last night that I had never heard of. And it stars Orson Welles, who, of course, produced it and directed it. It's called The Stranger. And it came out like around 1947. It's a black and white. I don't think he made a movie in color at all, ever.
Well, that's a good point.
I think the only time he showed up in color was when he was flogging wine on TV,
right.
and he'd become this big bloated thing, like Jabba the Hutt sitting there. And anyway, this film was really. I like these period films because they really reflect the time. In this case, Orson Welles plays a former Nazi who has managed to escape Germany after the war.
Wait, is this with Loretta Young?
Yes, it is.
Yes,
You're right.
Yes.
You've seen it?
Yes, but I forgot the name of it.
Yeah, The Stranger.
Anthony Robinson, right?
Yes, those are the three. Well, those are the three. Not only stars, but they take up most of the film time.
Right.
And it's so unusual. I mean, it's not really the kind of movie you would expect Edward G. Robinson to be in, or even Orson Welles, because he made these lavish productions. This is sort of reminds me of The Third Man in a way.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah. Did
you like that, The Third Man?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I took up, I think it's called the Balalaika,
yes, the music.
Yes, and I've done Balalaika concerts, but I never talk about it because it feels like bragging. But, one of the temples here, they always have me for services, and I get free hamantash. I don't want to get that's a good movie. And Din the Stranger, isn't that how he? I don't want to spoil it. His death at the end of that wasn't that? Doesn't he run up a tower or something?
Yes, a clock tower.
Yeah. Oh, he died an interesting death. I was going to say.
Yes.
I guess his time had come, huh? Ooh.
Right. I had expected. I mean, you expect him to die because he's a bad guy, basically, and he's killed several people and a dog. Now you can get away with killing people on the screen, but when you kill a dog, you better be careful. Because they'll come and get you for that. You know, the dog lovers, and I include myself, are very, very upset when a dog dies on TV or in the movies. But you're right; the death is so unusual. You know what to expect in that movie, and it's different. You know, without giving it away, he dies in a most unusual way. And then there's a more or less conventional episode to what had been his life, you know. So it's an interesting film. What I thought was most interesting, the whole post-war period. You know, they were chasing Nazis, and then they were chasing communists, and we had all of this stuff going on. And so the movie itself really held up because there were Nazis who escaped, you know, and some came out in the clear, like Werner von Braun, and I don't know if he was a Nazi, but he was a German. He was working for the German army, you know, and building
nuclear
weapons and stuff. Anyway, you know, there's another movie like that I love, and you know, every once in a while I'll mention Stanley, my friend. Stanley and I loved this movie. It was called what's it called? It was with Skip Homeier, and he plays a Nazi kid. And I'm trying to think of the name of it. I can't think of it at the moment. But he's brought to the United States. It's a soppy ending. It's not very good, but he's brought to the United States because his parents have died in the war, but they were on the other side, you see. So he comes to the United States as this Nazi kid living with his uncle and the uncle family. And, of course, he resents everything that the uncle and the family try to do for him, which isn't any different than most American kids at that age. You know, they do the same thing. They resent everything. So, but he
in any generation.
And that's right. I mean, it's the same. Yeah. And he has this German accent. My father was a good man. But I like The Stranger very much.
That reminds me of the producers. That is not the Adolf we knew.
Yes, yeah. It is a very different genre. Great. Very different genre. However, leading into, we must talk about this epic. Now we're gonna, for anyone who's listening, it's worthwhile watching this if you have any knowledge of the Bronx. So I'm just sort of making fun of it because I wasn't in it. That's the reason.
Let me interject something. You mentioned two things. You mentioned baseball and Edward G. Robinson, Strange Parts. There was a movie.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say there was a movie that was on $1 Million Movie in New York. Do you remember?
God, I remember that. Yeah.
Channel 9 or whatever it was.
That's right, something like that. Yeah.
And they played these movies over and over again, all year long. It was a movie starring Edward G. Robinson where he was a minor league baseball manager for the New York Giants minor league team. They had him in absolutely authentic uniforms of the New York Giants. And they were playing the Dodgers in the minor leagues. And this was...
Really?
I can never think of the movie's name when I bring it up, but Google it. It's one of the most. It was interesting to me as a kid because the scenes were very realistic about this guy trying to make the big leagues, and but the idea that Edward G. Robinson was so miscast in this managerial role, but he pulled it off, for what it was worth. And anyway, I'll
remember
try to
that movie at all, and I used to watch, like you guys, $1 Million Movie.
Yeah,
one
sure.
Movie, to digress, A Walk in the Sun with Dana Andrews.
what?
Movie.
You've got your computer on now, Michael?
Yeah.
Why don't you Google Edward G. Robinson?
I've done that. I'm working my way back.
Here
it is. I'll bet this is it. Big Leaguer.
Big Leaguer, yes.
There you go.
Sure, there it is. And Vera Ellen.
Yay. I like Vera Ellen.
He runs a training camp in Florida for the New York Giants. Yeah, now that is miscast. I never did either. Talk about being miscast.
You, nice one.
Yeah, that's quite a, he evaluates the hopefuls to pick the best for the minor league contract. Now, in 1953, I'll bet he wasn't choosing any Negro League ball players. Even though Jackie Robinson was already in playing baseball in several. But I'm looking around. Another name, Mike, you'll probably remember him too, and Ralph, Richard Jackal.
Oh, sure.
I know that name. Yes.
Yeah,
sure.
He was in the movie too.
He was in that movie, huh?
Big Leaguer. Yeah.
Oh.
Boy, oh boy! I'm talking like this is the discovery of a lifetime, but I don't remember that. I just put up A Walk in the Sun. My brother and I used to watch that every time it was on. Richard Conte, Dana Andrews, John Ireland,
those
Sterling
three.
Holloway.
Yeah, those three. I always confuse those three. For some reason, the three of them seem to be always in movies that either any one of the three could have played, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He plays
but going
John.
Back to the Bronx.
Yes. Yes. Now I've heard, and I can't verify this, but I have heard that there are people in Hollywood that are really, really in love with the documentary The Bronx. Yeah, I mean, because it's so representative of the genre, the whole genre of inner city life and kids and 85-year-old men who go back to their high school, which is what happens. Yeah. And the one person who really is very envious is Ken Burns. Ken Burns probably had that on his drawing board to do. It's like a 9-part series.
That's fascinating. I haven't.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was a Bronxite.
Who was Ken Burns?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, yeah?
No, it doesn't matter. He just thought the Bronx would be a good, like he got the idea probably from Chaz Palminteri, who did A Bronx Tale.
Tale, yeah.
Yes. So out of that, I'm sure Ken Burns said, well, I can do it even better as a documentary. But he probably he didn't get the chance because he was working on some other documentaries that recently aired on HBO. So he lost out on that one. And I think to his detriment, because it probably would have been the documentary that would have won him at least 2 or 3 Oscars because he's so good. And I'm hoping that the Bronx, because of its impact and because of its drama, and because of the way the characters are handled, it makes it worthwhile to watch. I mean, it's sort of a really insider's look at how things used to be. What do you think, Mike? You're the one who put us onto it. You're the one who saw it first, right?
Yeah. Well, obviously I liked it. I shouldn't say obviously. I liked it. It was one of those things you say, gosh, I wish I had made that.
Yeah.
And I thought of when the 5 or 6 of us got together. It's now 11 years. Back in Washington, I'm sure you remember.
Yes, but it's got to be more than 11 years.
It was 2008. I know. I shouldn't say it. It's 2008.
What get together was that?
Years.
I missed that one. I thought it was.
You missed that one. What are you talking about? I stayed at your house.
Oh, that one. That was a mini reunion. I'm talking about. I thought the big one, the one that you went to.
No. I'm talking about just us 5, 6 guys.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, I was there for that. I remember I picked you up at the airport.
Yeah, of course you were there. That's
yeah,
right.
I was
and
at that one.
Wait, my plane was. Yeah, but anyway, so the movie I like when Shapiro went to his old apartment.
Yes. That's always that's. I think it's like something that like birds or fish like salmon that go back to their birthplace, to die, to spawn and die. That's what it's probably why everyone from the Bronx feels that they have to go back,
But that's a good question, about going back and where Palmentary said, at least once a month he goes back for
right.
What was it? Not cheese. What was cheese?
It was some bakery product at the Italian bakery up on Arthur Avenue.
Place too. And I'm thinking, but let's not. I hate to say it, let's not romanticize what the Bronx looks like. All you have to do is look at Clinton and realize it's not even DeWitt Clinton High School anymore.
Well, the name on the building is the same, but you've got all that scaffolding up. They're trying to prop it up.
Yeah, but
so
I read that it's
down.
now like it's not called.
Oh, yeah. Well, it is.
3 different things.
Yes. There are 3 different schools occupying the building because if you remember, where they mentioned this, I think it was definitely the part with Glen. They mentioned like there was 1,200 students or something. Now 1,200 students was maybe a fourth of the number of students when we were there. Yeah. I mean, and then it was in the Guinness Book of Records, the largest public high school in the world.
Was that right?
Yeah, during the war. During the war, they had 3 shifts. So there was like 12,000 students going there. Yeah. And every one of them.
That's before the after-war boom.
Yeah, no, it was definitely it was not. No, it was before, and every one of those 12,000 kids had to go swimming naked in the pool.
Yeah, you remember that we've talked about that.
Yes,
and at the same time.
At the same time, that's true. It made for some very close friendships.
Yeah. Oh.
Some very close friendships developed.
Very close friendships.
That's how it was at the Y for us when we were kids. You go to the Y and they'd make us swim naked, and if you didn't swim, no swim, no gym. That's what they said.
Was this a YMCA or a YMH?
No, it was a YMCA. It was in Flushing, and as a kid, we'd take the bus, and winter days, we'd,
Now, but if you went to a YMCA and you had to swim naked in their pool, they would know instantaneously that you weren't a C.
Oh, yeah.
I'm surprised they didn't throw you guys out.
They knew instantaneously that we weren't a C before we ever got undressed.
Oh, wow.
We had...
You had to pay us.
Well, not to pay us, but there's so much, maybe the attitude a little bit. But
anyway, I just I found that whole Bronx thing. I was speaking to a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, Johnny Klein. You know him, Mike, and he was a little disappointed. And I could see his point. He was a little disappointed about so much emphasis on the kids today. But I found that kind of interesting and reassuring that I mean they weren't just gangsters and things like that, because we had our own set of gangsters.
I'm in the middle, so to speak. I would have liked to see, of course, more. I would have liked to see more of the old days, even though maybe they showed plenty of the old days. However, when you say reassuring, hate to be cynical, that was a group of like 12 kids they were talking to.
Yeah, I know. You're right.
And then I thought I'd never say this in my life, and I don't mean it in the wrong way. Notice there were no white kids.
Yeah, well, that's
interesting. I wonder how many are in the school, what the percentage is.
I don't know.
So the neighborhood, the Bronx is.
Oh, sure.
It's not Chaz Palmer going back for cheese anymore.
No.
Even though I guess those stores are still there.
Some of them are not on our side, not on the Jordan Avenue.
By the
they're
way,
all gone.
The Bachelor cafeteria.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever went in there.
Oh well, I must, and Johnny said the same thing. But I have to tell you that I had a lot of lunches in there, especially on Saturdays. My father loved their pierogi, the pierogi, the Polish.
Oh, I love pierogi.
Yeah, and I think his name was Mr. Mahler, the cook, the chef in there. He knew him. He made them. Sometimes he actually sent some home with my father because he liked them so much. And we had lunch there a lot because of the amount of time my parents spent over on that side with my grandmother. So I think I've told that story because I told it to Johnny. One of my earliest memories when we talked about that on a previous show, this guy made a snowball for me. I must have been like 3 years old, and I couldn't make a snowball. It was in the winter, so there was possibility of making a snowball. But anyway, I was standing there by the cafeteria, and I asked this guy, I said, can you make me a snowball? I couldn't have made more than 3. I think the war was still on. And he said, I can't do it now, but I will when I come back. And I thought, even as 3-year-old, I was very cynical. Thinking about, yeah, sure. Yeah, you're going to come back. Yeah, like a snowball's chance in hell, you're going to come back. I was very good at these illusions. But anyway, back then, yes. But he did come back and he made me a snowball. And yeah, right in front of the Marshall cafeteria, which it was a cafeteria. You went along the line with your tray, and every time you got something,
I felt bad watching the show that I was never there. I said, I'm going to get on a plane. I want to go there.
Well, don't. It's not there.
But on that side of the street, I know I've mentioned this now like 20 times already, Schweller's is where I had my bar mitzvah party.
And they mentioned Schweller's in the.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They didn't mention my party, but I'll cry if I want to. I'm sorry. Slid right into that.
It did sound like Lesley Gore for that one split second.
Yes.
It didn't really. See, I've been told that before, actually. So thank you, Ralph, for supporting.
Well, as long as they don't tell you look like Lesley Gore, that's.
Well, she's not here anymore.
Oh no!
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
I didn't either.
I'm pretty sure.
Oh.
I remember she was very short. She was small in stature.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I remember.
Well, so was Les. You might be thinking of what's her name? The other one who had a terrific voice and had a lot of hits. at that same time.
No, she died in 2015.
Oh, wow.
Mm. Wow.
No,
who
who
is
is
one who had a lot of Connie Francis?
No, Connie Francis, I think, is still alive, and in some. She had a lot of mental problems. The poor thing. She was.
I think she had a rape in her history. Somebody.
Yeah,
raped
something.
her.
That's right,
Yeah.
Ralph. I think you're right. But who was the other one? She, not Lesley Gore, but there was a young. She had so many hits. I can't think of her name, but she too was quite short. But anyway, but just getting back, there were so many scenes in that movie that I clearly remember, especially like coming off by the Jerome Avenue Marshall Parkway IRT station.
Right.
But you know it really brought me up short, I have to say. All these kids having to go through the metal detector when they go to school.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about a sign of the times. Isn't that awful? Isn't that awful? And it's like that at every school. They say on the show. I mean,
you talk about growing up a cynic. How are these kids going to look at life?
Yeah, I don't know. They might look at it as normal. Unfortunately, they might look at it as an unfortunate, as just a part of life.
To get into class, you have to. Oh boy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I know. It was very. I thought that was the most depressing part of the whole thing.
They didn't show Fordham Road, Lois.
No.
Well, they couldn't show everything, but come on now.
I know. I thought they stayed away from all the landmarks. There was a shot of Yankee Stadium, but the train going goes into the tunnel there. But they had nothing of the Grand Concourse. No shots of Fordham Road or even up around the Bronx Zoo. I think they mentioned the zoo, but they never showed anything about it. They showed the kids getting on that Clinton bus, we used to call it, that went down the Grand Concourse. But that was it.
And then
they didn't show Harris. They didn't show Harris Field.
No, they didn't show Harris Field. No.
No.
Ralph and I
mentioned this in the email I sent to you guys. Well, not to Ralph, but about George Shapiro wearing a Dodgers hat throughout the whole document.
Yes, I couldn't understand that.
Come on, George, get another hat, will you?
Yeah, buy a hat, a Yankee hat, and wear it. I mean, if he'd worn it down, when we were there with all the Yankee fans, and you were a Giant fan, he would have gotten them.
Dodger fan.
Dodger fan. I'm sorry. So,
ironically, I'm the Giant fan.
That's right. That's right. So no wonder you knew that the movie with G. Robinson. Yeah.
As a kid in the winter, to see a Giant uniform that was a New York Giant uniform, that if you look at the movie, it's absolutely authentic, and I love baseball movies that are true. Uniforms, caps.
Yes. I couldn't agree with you more.
Major League was one of those where you say, wow, that's a big league uniform.
Mm-hmm. And I know that.
No, I was just going to say, to see that in the winter when you're jonesing baseball more than ever, it was great.
That's the whole thing about. You're right. I mean, the authenticity of those movies gives them a boost. I mean, what was the name of the Natural? The Knights.
Yes,
the Knights.
The Knights. Oh, I love that movie, and I love the way the ballpark. It's like an old ballpark with the rafters.
Yeah, but wouldn't you have loved it more if it was in a Dodgers uniform or a Giants uniform? I mean,
I don't know. This is purely fiction, and that movie really has a place in my heart. I
I
love
know
the
it's
emblem.
wonderful. I'm trying to remember, and I've tried for years, and I don't remember whether I read the book before I saw the movie or vice versa. Because the ending, I hope I'm not spoiling this for anyone, the ending of the book is different than the movie.
Well,
Totally
how often
different,
is it?
yes.
Yeah.
That's
Very
Bernard Malamud.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bernard Malamud, very good.
Malamud, yes. Have you read the book since? Oh, you did read the book because you know the difference.
I'm sorry.
You did. You must have read the book because you said there's a difference in the ending.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just can't remember if he saw the movie first or read the book first.
Oh, right, yeah. Well, a quick little anecdote about that. When Bernard Malamud died, and I don't know I think his son was working for the federal government. I believe that's what happened. So I got in touch with him somehow to do a show, because I did book reviews and stuff. So I wanted to do like a tribute to his dad. So because he wrote so many really good books, and so I had him on. And before we went into the studio, he said, "Don't ask me anything about his books. I never read them." That's true.
That's funny.
Yeah.
How bizarre.
I know. You would think. And he was an adult. He was obviously working.
I never read my dad's books. Ooh.
Well, I have two sons who have never read mine, so I know that. And I didn't have nearly as many as he did to read. My sons could have read them in a couple of days. Only 4, but. So that's why I take consolation in that. I said, if Bernard Malamud's son could not read his father's many books, even one, that
must have been a kind of a stilted interview. If you were expecting to talk about his books going in.
No. We talked about his life and his experiences. There's some really good books. In fact, the one I like especially is A New Life, which is the story of this New York educated professor who grew up, and he's New York. He's a New Yorker. And for one reason or another, he winds up taking a job like in Oregon or Washington State at some college out there. And it's a whole new life for this guy. It's a really interesting book, a novel, and it's based on his year, 2 years, or whatever is out there, And there is a difference between. Now, I'm not saying there's not, there's a real difference between living out there, living in let's say Los Angeles and New York. And Mike, you could talk better than I, but there are a lot of similarities in the culture, the cuisine, the whole, that sort of thing. But moving out to the woods of Oregon is a big change.
Oh, yeah. I was stationed out at Travis Air Force Base, halfway between San Francisco and Sacramento. And I'm a kid. I'm 20 years old. This is an involuntary thing for me, joining the Air Force. I mean, it was voluntary that I joined, but I joined to stay out of the draft. So, in essence, there was no it wasn't voluntary. So they put me in a city, Fairfield, California. Mm-hmm. That's the nearest city to the base. And we called it Mayberry. It had 12,000 people. I had 12,000 people in my co-op.
Right.
That's right.
So, I mean, I felt like such a fish out of water for an awful long time until I realized that there was, because of my accent and my, my attitude as an Easterner, I became interesting to folks.
Ah.
I mean, not necessarily popular or anything.
Mm-hmm.
It did help. Michael and I have talked about the idea we're chasing women, and the rest of it is is kind of fill. And it was easy for me because I was just different. And I've thought about this for a long time. It isn't as different living in California from New York today because of television, because of a whole bunch of different things. I don't think there's that much of a difference between East Coast living now and West Coast living.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a good point. I mean, he wrote the book like in the 50s, somewhere like that.
Right.
When there would have been. What's that?
Would you agree with what Ralph was
I
saying?
guess. I mean, my times out there are few and far between, and not a great deal of time. I can accept it, sure, because guys
Virginia. Let's use Virginia as an example. It doesn't have to be California. Is it that much different living in Virginia today than it would be? The Bronx is different, of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we still don't have a good deli here.
That's right.
And you can't get a good bagel for life or money.
And from what I understand, most of the delis in New York are no longer there as well.
Yeah, right. That's true.
Right.
That's very true. Sad to say.
We did on this network. We had the guy who ran. I can't think of his name. He ran the Carnegie Deli, and he gave us an interview. And I'll send you a link. Send you guys a link to that. It was a Peter Trunk show, so it must have been Life in New York back then with the Dodgers or whatever. And he talked about the deli and how things have changed in New York in terms of getting food and what have you. And but I'm surprised there isn't at least one good deli in Virginia.
Well, I know of one that's acceptable. Let's put it that way. That's about a B minus C plus kind of, and they try to imitate New York, the New York deli with all the little caricatures of famous stars and all that sort of stuff on the walls, and they make a decent sandwich. But if you think about some of the delis in New York, you could almost break your jaw trying to get that half a sandwich in your mouth because it's so big.
Oh yeah.
You had to nibble around the edges. Remember? Yeah, just to get it.
There are a few out here that give you that huge sandwich, but it costs about $18.
Yeah, right. I'm sure it does.
It's $18-19 for a sandwich.
Wow.
And then you got to find a good egg cream to go with it.
Yeah.
Then you got to find somebody who can make a good egg cream to go with it.
Yes.
That's tough. Some lady at the Jewish home the other day, I mentioned New York or something. The first thing she said, she's from Brooklyn, is she misses an egg cream with the long pretzel. I went,
Oh, yes. I remember that.
Well, you can buy Fox's You Bet.
Sure.
And then make your own egg creams.
You can.
But you know what's missing? And
the seltzer.
Well, no, you can get seltzer too. But what's really missing is, if you recall, they were usually made in those like aluminum bottles, but an aluminum canister that they could also stick under the machine that swirls it around and
like a milkshake thing.
Like a milkshake machine.
I know what you mean. Okay.
Remember they used to make the egg creams in that or right in the glass itself.
I remember it more so in the glass.
Yeah.
The other I remember for like a malted or a milkshake.
Right. Yeah, but I mean they used the Fox's You Bet in that too for even for ice cream sodas they used it. And then they put the scoop of ice cream in. That was always my the black and white. That was always my favorite.
Oh, that was good. That was good.
Yes.
And it's surprising. Well, first of all, there really are no, there are no candy stores around here. Right. One of the guests on the Ralph, you probably wouldn't have recognized him. I hardly did until Johnny mentioned it. It was Aki Cohn. Aki Cohn ran his father, then he inherited it, a candy store, a legitimate Bronx candy store. And he was on the show. He didn't say very much. In fact, I don't think he said anything at all. Which was, I think they were sitting there because they were like, almost like, just part of the audience for Robert Klein. And two people sitting there because Larry didn't say anything either. At least maybe it was cut out. I don't know.
Those two other. Well, just for a second, boy, when I saw Larry Burbank, I went, "Oh, holy jeez!"
Yeah.
Of course, I don't look exactly the same myself, but
we don't.
Like a little Buddha with bald.
I wasn't going to identify him, but you're right. I mean, but he.
Oh yeah, that was everyone.
I mean, in fact, when I was talking about with the other critic, Johnny, who had seen it, I have a picture. I'm holding it in my hand. A picture of Larry Burbank and two of his friends in the '80s schoolyard. These are really old black and white photos that were taken like on a photo day. You could bring a camera to
oh wow.
Anyway, but they didn't say anything. Either one of them, they just sort of sat there next to Robert Klein and let Klein.
Exactly, yeah.
So I think Klein should run for mayor or something. I mean,
he fills up the state. He is just so good that those guys probably couldn't get. They were intimidated.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're right, and I don't think either one of them plays a harmonica either. So that would be a drawback. They might play the balalaika, but I don't know if they.
The balalaika. I just want to say I had mentioned this in the email that at the end, and forget Shapiro with the hat. That was bad enough. But at the end, when Rob Reiner, when they said, "How do you define the Bronx?" and he went, "The Bronx is that now." Well, that song, as I mentioned, he sang Chicago.
Oh.
That Chicago is
my hometown. Yeah.
Yeah. Why did he sing Chicago and no one at the end of this entire documentary about the Bronx went, "Hold it, you're singing Chicago."
Yeah, let's take that again.
Come on.
And the other guy in the Dodger cap singing Chicago.
Well, that's what.
Yeah. Well, but Rob singing Chicago. Rob is come on now.
Yeah.
I like he should have sung the song from what was it? Where the three sailors come to New York on a leave. I think Sinatra was in. The Bronx is up and the battery's down.
That I used to sing that song to my kid when he was growing up, and the toy ran out of batteries. And I teach him. I said, "The Bronx is up and the batteries are down."
Oh, that's great. That's great.
But if you do it every frickin' time,
it's a wonderful town. That's
a wonderful town. Yeah, that was it. Yeah. But I think, to just getting back, I think that Chicago is my kind of town. Was later, I think it was Sinatra who did it, who changed the lyrics to New York.
Oh, could be. I don't know. Are you sure you're not thinking of
New York, New York?
Well, the one New York. That's the one from.
That's the batteries. Yes.
That's Jules. What's his name? Was in that movie, and Sinatra. And, Jules. Jules. And I forget the third.
It was Sinatra, Gene Kelly, and Jules.
Gene Kelly. That's right.
And
right.
Yeah, but you're thinking of the song they play after the Yankees win.
Right. Exactly.
We're thinking of.
That's the one and now they play it all the time. I mean,
you can make it here, you can make it there. It's
Yeah.
New York.
Yeah.
They play it at also at the end when the ball falls, New Year's Eve.
Really?
Right.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I've never gone there.
The first song they play is.
I've never had any desire to do that. To go down there.
What, to stay up that late?
Well, I can stay up that late.
Oh, no, the crowds, I mean...
they go there.
The closed-in
Yeah. No, even staying up to midnight is becoming quite a chore. But we go to the same place every year for New Year's Eve. We go with two friends. And interestingly enough, it's the Arts Society of Washington, and the building that they own, which they have a lot of art exhibits and stuff, the building that they own was at one point James Monroe's home, right in the middle of Washington. Yeah, interesting. There's portraits of the two of them up there, the wife and James Madison. So it's kind of neat. But most of the people who go to this thing every year are even older than I am. So if anybody falls asleep, nobody makes a big deal of it.
They're older than you, but they're not as young at heart as you are.
No. Yeah.
So, and really and truthfully, age is a state of mind. I know they say that. I know as we get older, we have to say that.
It better be, because I've got not much else to hang on to.
Right. Well, as long as you keep your mind, the age doesn't matter. I saw a documentary on Glen Campbell on CNN last night, and that was unbelievably tragic.
I know.
He has the onset of Alzheimer's disease, which is progressed beyond the onset.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And to see a man as talented and as just it's a disease that we have to thank God we don't have.
Yeah, and this thing about early onset, I mean, it's even more frightening because of these are younger people. I mean, really younger people. There's a book review in the Washington Post today by a doctor whose wife suddenly developed, and it was sudden. She developed Alzheimer's in a strange way. Anyway, he wrote a book about how difficult it was, to take care of her. Anyway, but well, Glen Campbell, my son Jeff's, one of his friends out there was in Campbell's band and was dating Glen Campbell's daughter, and Jeff had some interesting little anecdotes about
she is a charming, if it's the same daughter that I saw on this documentary last night, she is a charming, lovely woman.
Yeah, it could be. I don't know.
Yeah.
I know that from what I was told, Glen Campbell was not particularly happy about the musician going out with his daughter. I think he even fired the guy.
Really?
But I think, if I recall correctly, it wasn't really anything that I had to memorize and keep in my
your memory bank.
Yeah.
What happened to Glenn that day? Was he just in a bad mood, or did he really love his daughter?
I don't know. I have no idea. But you know who else? It happened to. Come on. He was head of the NRA for a while, and he made all those. Charlton Heston.
Yes.
Charlton Heston, yeah, he too. And at the last, there was an interview with him toward the end, and he was not all that, with it, let's say.
Yeah. Well, Ronald Reagan too suffered.
Yeah.
Suffered from that.
They hid that well, boy. Did they hid that well?
Oh, He was governor of Sacramento when it came on.
Well, he was more than governor.
Governor of California. No, governor of California, living in California.
Do you really think so? Do you really think he was suffering?
This is years ago, and I'm selling insurance in Sacramento, and one of my prospective clients, or clients, I can't remember it now, he was a member of the state police. They don't have that anymore in California, but the state police would be the bodyguard for the governor.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
and this was just a nice guy who is like a rent-a-cop, and he'd sit with Reagan as and guard him. And he told me stories about, first of all, they had the Equal Rights Amendment for women in California, or equal rights for everything. And Knopfsinger was his assistant, and Reagan is down in the basement, as where he'd spend most of his time as governor, with his train set. He had a little conductor's cap, not a conductor, an engineer. He had a cap on, and he had his son, Ronnie Jr., and they'd play with the trains for hours. And he tells me the story. Knopfsinger comes down, ready to sign it now, Ron. It's got to be signed. And he'd go, well, tell me about the bill again. What's it all about? And Knopfsinger would have to go over it and say, do you really think it's time to sign it? What's the timing on this? Woo, woo. Wait a minute. The train's coming through the frickin' tunnel.
Really? That's
and this
I believe it.
And this isn't back. I'm talking about back then when he was describing. This isn't in retrospect, like, you know, I guarded this guy 50 years ago. He's telling me these stories back then of living through it. He says, I don't know what to say to this guy. Somebody is running the show, and it isn't him. And I knew then that they were propping him up, and he's not the only one that they prop up. These candidates are
well, you
for
know,
the most part, just show.
I'm sure that's what it was. You were told. I find that hard to believe, in the sense that unless he was such a tremendous actor that he memorized everything that they handed to him, because he didn't show any of those signs at all until his second term, at least publicly. I'm saying publicly, there were no signs of any slippage there until his second administration.
I agree with Ralph in that there were people behind him, whether there was slippage or not, and he just liked his trains. I remember on a 60-minute segment, they showed Reagan, I think he was now president, giving a speech, and it was a speech out of a war movie.
Yes,
and
you're right.
I never forgot that. I said, that's who this guy is. He's playing a part.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He's the borax guy. Guy.
Yeah,
and he could,
and 20 Mule Team. Yeah, the old Ranger. But that wasn't I forget the name of that show. He did host it after the old Ranger actually died. And he was hosting
whatever.
GE Theater. That was it. GE Theater.
Yes.
And that was his comeback. That was his comeback into politics.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Because he had sort of became a non-entity for a while there, and that was his reentry. Yeah. But I mean, they all have entourages except for this guy. They all have his entourage lasts about an hour and a half, and then they're gone. But they all they have to have it. If you're serious about handling the job, as everyone up to this guy was.
Oh, this guy does it alone. This guy
has. Well, that's the point. You can't do it alone. The country is too damn big, and there are too many things happening that you have to pay attention to, and he doesn't. But that's why you have these massive numbers of advisors in every kind of situation. There's someone. I mean, who would have thought? Like now, they've got that lieutenant colonel. He's the expert on on Ukraine. Now, why do you think this ever? Why in the world would a president need a special, expert on Ukraine when you've got the whole State Department and you've got experts in just about every area of the world? So these are the kind of things that they do nowadays. Just look how Obama and you can tell how much work they put into it, but how they look at the end of their terms. George W. Bush didn't look very much different after 8 years, but Obama was gray. Right. And even Clinton was white by the time he finished his 8 years. So there's a lot there. A lot goes on to the job, unless you're going to sit and watch, Fox News all day.
Right. Well, I was going to say he's.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I'm sorry.
Somebody said to me yesterday, all of a sudden he goes, "Why am I depressed half the time?" And he said, "It's Trump." He said he's just my friends said you get so depressed.
Yeah. Angry too. Angry.
Oh yeah.
And disappointed too. How did we let it get to this point where this guy is just he's in need of some real mental care? And I'm not the only one. There's people identifying that this guy is really tied too tight, and he's going to either implode or do something really stupid, like, say, pull the troops out of Bosnia or wherever the hell they are. Ukraine, rather, not Bosnia.
Well, we don't have troops there. We have
no.
But you're right. I mean, God forbid there should be a real international crisis. That would really. There are people who believe he's creating one by ceding the Middle East to the Russians and the Chinese and whoever else wants to go in there, when we were really holding the lid down, so to speak.
Do you know what he announced this week, that he wants to go in May to Russia to help celebrate the May Day thing?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, because he wants to see a parade. He wants to see another military parade.
That's what
he saw one in France. Now he wants to see one in Russia. Because
does he understand the significance of that?
No. Not at all.
When I say disappointed, I think scared is the word I'm looking for. Being afraid.
That too.
Yeah.
How close are we to losing democracy? If he decides that if he loses or is impeached or whatever, and it's time for him to leave, if he decides he wants to stay, he's building up like they did in Germany. He's building up.
What I think.
Yeah, he's building up this group of folks that are going to support him and that are going to roll in on motorcycles and not let it happen.
You're right. It is a scary scenario, but the federal service and the armed forces would not allow it to happen. And they wouldn't, because their primary duty is to the Constitution, not to a guy who was president and is no longer president. 1 minute after 12, he's got to be out of there.
Right.
One way or another. But I can see. But you raised a scenario that a lot of people have given thought to. Yeah, I mean, because he's already talked about a third term and a fourth term. I mean, he's gone around the bend.
Just throwing that stuff out is so throwing stuff out that's against the Constitution.
Yeah, but did you see that? Did you see when he did it? He did it at one of his rallies.
And if you notice, hold on, I'll be right back.
Yeah,
be right back.
And he did it at one of his rallies, and all of these people behind him are shaking their heads, nodding their heads, I should say, nodding their heads. Oh yeah, good idea. 3 terms, 4 terms, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, well, what got me the other day, that little guy from Kentucky, when he was rallying right before the election, the guy from Kentucky was saying some stuff that even if you look at Trump's expression, even Trump he had a look on his face like, that's not really right. Just for one quick second, I think he had a moment of lucidity when he realized that this is craziness.
I didn't see that one.
A very short guy next to him. A short guy at his Kentucky rally is going off and on with these crazy things.
Yeah.
And then Trump comes out. He says, "You're voting for me." In essence, don't let me down voting for the governor.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. The governor. Yeah. Well, he did. He lost. They lost.
Yes.
He lost in Kentucky. He lost several. Well, of course, in Virginia, he lost everywhere. I mean, it was an amazing turnabout.
Nice politics in Virginia. You must have been pleased with that.
Yes. Interestingly enough, because we know the now he's majority leader of the Senate. He used to be our congressman. And we've known him. Becky did design work at his home.
Schiffler or
no, Saxa, not Saxa. Let me think for a second. Anyway,
Trump calls him Shifty, right?
No, that's Schiff. That's Adam Schiff from
Campbell. Oh, okay.
I mean, this is the leader in the Senate in the Virginia Senate.
The Virginia. Okay, I got you.
Yeah. So it's interesting. As a little side note, the leader of the House, the House of Delegates in Virginia, is like the House of Representatives. She and Dick Saslaw, who's now will be the Senate leader because he's a Democrat. He was the minority leader for a number of years. But both of them are Jewish, though.
Oh, whoa.
Which is a rarity. I don't think it's ever happened in Virginia before. So I mean, they never had a woman Senate leader either. I mean, House leader before.
Yeah.
So,
I wanted to share something about Virginia. I was the TOPS representative back in the 80s, and I got to drive around the country.
Mm-hmm.
The most beautiful state to drive through, besides Oregon and, the Grand Canyon, all that stuff, Virginia. The trees and the mountains in Virginia, absolutely gorgeous. I don't know if you do what we used to do as a kid. Just go out for a drive. Doesn't happen very much anymore.
No, it doesn't. No. And because for one thing, the roads are too. It's like Yogi Bear said. Nobody does it anymore because the roads are too crowded.
Right. That's the one.
That's true.
Like Yogi would say, nobody eats at that restaurant anymore.
Yeah, because it's too crowded. Yeah, but that's true. I mean, the roads are pretty crowded. Yeah.
And if you're missing out, if every now and again you don't just go out in the country for a drive.
No, we do.
Oh, good, yeah. Because that it is a beautiful state. I don't know how it is in the winter. I just been through there in the summer. Did you get?
We get snow on occasion, and we'll get an occasional blizzard, maybe once every 10, 12 years. This year they're saying it's not going to be fairly mild, so that's appeases me. I can't stand. I listen to the Farmer's Almanac when it says what I want it to say, and pay no attention to it when it doesn't. So we're waiting. I mean, yesterday was quite cold here, but today's warming up. For you, it's not warm, but it's like in the 50s, and it'll be in the low 60s tomorrow, which is more normal, our temperatures. February is our worst month, just around President's Day. That's the key weekend. If we don't get a blizzard on Washington's birthday, President's Day, which I hate. I hate that title. I hate that title because not every president deserves a day, and they took it away from George Washington. I mean, come on,
Yeah.
Give me because he had slaves, so they took it away from him.
Well,
forget about everything else he did. He had slaves. I'm gonna take it away.
All right. Hey, we just remember, wherever we live, the three of us are breaking the Jewish law, because by rights, we should be living in Florida.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I don't know many old Jews that aren't in Florida. And,
I've said for a long time that Florida is where Cubans go to live and Jews go to die.
A good one.
Yes.
All right, guys. Hey, what a terrific show. I love chatting with you.
Yeah, it was fun.
It's
Fun.
Bronx Roots, the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network, David Hubler, and Michael Preminger. I'm Ralph Tyko, the weak link of it all. And we'll be back at you in about 2 weeks. How about that?
Okay. See you then.
2 weeks? Okay, that's good.
Yep.
Good.
Okay.
Stay healthy, guys, and we'll see you then. Thank you for listening, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Adios.
Bye.
The proceeding has been a Comfortably Zoned network production. You are advised to keep your dreams wet, your humor dry, your children and grandchildren out of military recruiting offices and off the laps of clerics who wear dresses. Thank you for listening, everyone. Happy trails.